In a very unsurprising move, the United States Supreme Court agrees to hear a case whether Trump can be kicked off the ballot in the state of Colorado. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and today it is time we talk about the 2024 presidential election. Because as most of you probably know, Donald Trump was kicked off the ballot in the state of Colorado. And there's been many questions about, would Trump get a case in the United States Supreme Court? I never knew why people thought he wouldn't, but here we are. And the Supreme Court has officially agreed to hear the decision on arguably the most important Supreme Court decision possibly ever. This could very well be it. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody. Now, let me be clear about one thing. Alright. This decision is absolutely critical. Not just for Trump. And this is what these idiots on Twitter gotta understand. They're not gonna stop at Trump. If they are allowed to kick Trump off the ballot, they're going to do every single Republican that they deem a threat. Every single one of them gets kicked off the ballot. And that's the problem. It starts a terrible precedent. I mean, you're not talking about being kicked off the ballot because, you're not old enough or you don't have enough signatures to be on the ballot. That's one thing. This is a completely different can of worms. So let's get into it, alright? Because, oh boy, this is gonna not be fun. The Supreme Court on Friday agreed to consider whether former President Trump could be deemed ineligible to run for federal office again because of his actions leading up to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. A case that could have a seismic impact on the presidential election. It will. Because if Trump is kicked off the ballot in Colorado, might as well write off this country. Because here's what's going to happen. They're not going to stop at Trump. They're going to bar any Republican from running in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada. Any one of them. They're like, no, you can't be on the ballot because we said so. The justices will review a decision by the Colorado Supreme Court that said Trump could be barred from the Republican primary ballot in that state. But the U.S. Supreme Court ruling is likely to have national repercussions, potentially setting guidelines that would determine how every other state would handle the issue. The fact that we're even considering this is stupid. I mean, this is the fate of the Republic on the line. If the Supreme Court does what it usually does and kicks the can down the road, well, I don't think they will in this case, but you set a dangerous precedent where, alright, an unelected official in, say, Maine can just kick Trump off the ballot because, I feel like it. No jury, no trial, nothing. These people could just say, Trump's off the ballot. The brief order said the case would be argued on an accelerated schedule on February 8th, indicating that a ruling will follow soon after. One other state, Maine, has issued a similar decision saying that Trump cannot appear on the ballot. Like the Colorado ruling, the Maine decision is now on hold while litigation continues. Trump remains on the ballot in both states. We're glad that the Supreme Court definitively decide whether Trump can be on the ballot. We look forward to presenting our case and ensuring the Constitution is upheld. The government watchdog group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, which represents the 6 plaintiffs who sued, said in a statement. Colorado Secretary of State Gina Griswold, a Democrat, said in a statement that the American people deserve clarity on whether someone who engaged in insurrection may run for the country's highest office. These people are delusional. These people really think, oh, I could kick anybody off the ballot because I think so, because insurrection. most people think, Trump could have maybe handled January 6th better, which now knowing the footage, he did. But either way, when it comes to January 6th, people don't want Trump kicked off the ballot because of it. That's utterly insane, and most people understand, hey, I'm not a fan of Trump, but I should have the choice to choose Trump or Biden or RFK or whatever. Not, you get to decide who I can vote for. This reminds me a lot of Iran's election system. For those that don't know, this is essentially what it is. In Iran, it's actually in the constitution there, but either way, essentially it's like a 5-man dictatorship. Not dictatorship because you got the supreme leader, but you get it, right? It's a 5-man committee or whatever it is that can decide who can and can't run for president. Gee, I wonder what happens. Look it up. It's not fun. But that's what's happening here. And they're doing it to Dean Phillips, Jill Stein, and not for insurrection, but they're just deciding, nah, you're not on the ballot. The court, she said, should prioritize this case and issue a ruling as soon as possible, which I agree with. We should not be waiting 6 months from now to hear, the Supreme Court has decided in a 7-2 decision that Trump can be on the ballot. If the Supreme Court rules for Trump, then he would stay on the ballot. But should the court uphold the Colorado ruling, then other states could be encouraged to follow suit. They won't. Even most Democrats understand this is stupid. Not just because we don't like Trump, but because this sets a dangerous precedent that could be used on us. That could be used on anybody else, not just Trump. There's also the possibility that Trump is kicked off the ballot. Republicans could take retaliatory action by doing the same to President Biden. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has already floated such a move. And that's where it gets interesting. Are Democrats really going to risk kicking Trump off in safe Democrat states when Biden could be kicked off of Texas, Georgia, North Carolina? Because you could make an argument that Biden's violating the Constitution for not preventing invasion at the border. He's in fact allowing it to happen. The Colorado Supreme Court ruled on December 19th that Trump was ineligible to appear in the Republican primary ballot in the state, although it put the ruling on hold to allow for appeals on its decision. In the meantime, Maine's top election official reached a similar conclusion, further heightening the stakes. Unless the Supreme Court acts quickly, any decision could have limited impact during the primaries, but the logic would likely apply to the general election as well. That's why the Supreme Court has to rule now, because you can't wait till September 30th, when some states allow mail-in voting to start, to then issue a ruling. No. Do it now. You want to have more faith for people, for voting? Issue it now. Because if people hear, so an unelected bureaucrat decided yesterday Trump's not on the ballot because insurrection, they're going to be like, wait, hold up, I was considering voting for the guy, but you kicked him off the ballot because insurrection? Many people are going to lose faith. They're going to lose confidence in the system. After the U.S. Supreme Court issued its ruling Friday, the Trump campaign said it was confident the court would unanimously affirm the civil rights of President Trump, which, this should be a 7-2 ruling at the bare minimum. Probably 8-1, who knows? But if the Supreme Court really goes down the route of, hey, Trump can't be on the ballot because insurrection, well, there's 250 years down the toilet for this country. Because that's never was implied in the 14th Amendment. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're even talking about it. Hell, you look at the 14th Amendment, it doesn't even mention president. And NBC makes it sound like it prohibits those who engage in insurrection from running for various federal offices. It specifically lays out the Senate, congressmen, state legislators, the electors of president. You heard that. Electors. But not the president itself. It never mentioned that. This is the whole problem. And I've made many videos on this that just show the 14th Amendment. What Democrats are claiming, which it's always the 14th Amendment. What Democrats are claiming would essentially mean we can declare anything an insurrection. I mean, insurrection at the border. Biden's off the ballot. Oh, Jill Stein protested an environmental event 20 years ago. That's insurrection. She's off the ballot. That's the problem. That's why in the 14th Amendment, it never specified presidents. And when you really read it, it just meant for people during the Civil War. People that fled the United States, joined the Confederacy. That's an actual insurrection, mind you. And yeah, that's what it was for, not 200 years later. And yeah, the President of the United States can't run again because insurrection. Because he tried to insurrect himself. Doesn't make much sense. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below. Subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.